Hey guys, so let's begin the first part of my 100 subscriber video for you guys. So before I start off this whole comic book review that I'm going to review for you guys, I'd like to talk about something before I do this. So you guys all know, um, what's interesting is when you're reading a comic book, we always know who the hero is. Like, we all know who Batman is, who Superman is, Wonder Woman. We all know who these heroes are. We know their backstory. We know how they became heroes, right? But what I find the most interesting is always the villains. I mean, don't get me wrong, heroes are very, very, very interesting and all, but villains are the most interesting because, you know, the saying is like villains aren't always born evil, right? You know, everybody's born a blank slate. They can either be good or they can choose to be evil, right? They never, are born that way unless you're like a demon spawn or hell spawn, then probably you would be evil. But basically everybody has a choice to whether be good or evil. And what's most interesting is, what makes the villain tick. What, put that villain into the position he is, like, to this day. Like, what makes, like, Lex Luthor evil? What, made all these other, villains in the DC universe or Marvel universe evil, right? What, turned them this way? And the most interesting one that I always loved was, of course, the Joker story, because do we really know the Joker's backstory? There's so many multiple ones. There's, like, all these different kind of variations, like even in The Dark Knight. If you watched the movie, you would hear the Joker talk about his backstory. He always talks about his scar. How did he get his scar? From his drunk dad? Did he do it to himself because because of mobsters that cut up his wife's face? Why did the Joker become insane? That's the whole question. He has so many different stories. We don't really know which one is real. This one right here basically is the most, like, one that everybody always talks about. This is the one that everybody refers to as basically the most, original story for the Joker. This is where everybody points to. And that story is one of my favorite Joker origin stories is Batman the Killing Joke. In Batman the Killing Joke, it tells the backstory of the Joker, and he actually has Barbara Gordon, getting shot by the Joker and being paralyzed from the waist down and becoming, Oracle later on in the future. So this, of course, says a lot already. So let's begin the review. Of course, the story starts off with Batman going to Arkham Asylum to talk to the Joker. And what he finds out is the Joker that's in his cell is basically a decoy. The Joker has escaped from Arkham Asylum, and the one in the cell is a fake. So what happens is Batman has to go out and, of course, stop the Joker, put him back in Arkham Asylum. But while he's doing that, the Joker has plans of his own. He rents or steals an amusement park, and basically from that point on, he starts. They start the backstory of what really happened to him. So what really happened to the Joker was he was a normal citizen like everybody else. He wasn't, bleached white or his hair was green all the time. Basically what happens is that he used to work in a chemical factory. And what happens was he quit that job because he didn't like it. He thought that, he could be a comedian. He wanted to be a comedian. So he left his job at the chemical facility and tried to become a stand-up comedian. And doing this was a bad idea because he wasn't that funny. No one really thought he was funny, and he couldn't, make enough money to support his wife and the baby that's coming along because his wife's pregnant. So he's down in the dumps, really, really down in the dumps, and he really is frustrated with himself and can't really, do much. So what happens is later on, these two, like, mobsters comes along and tells him that, if you help us, across this the old chemical factory that you used to work at, because you know your way around there. If you help us across that part to get to, like, a bank or something, and help them rob it, then he would get paid fairly decent amount of money. So he would be, like, paid, like, so much that he doesn't even have to have a job anymore. And of course, he was suckered in. He had to take it because, of course, already he couldn't support his wife. He's not a good comedian, so he thought this was going to be the easy way out. Just one crime, and he's set to go for the rest of his life. And so what he does is he actually goes with the deal, and he goes over to the chemical factory. But what happens is they give him a Red Hood suit to put on, to like actually steer like fear into people and stuff like that. So, you know, everybody would back off and stuff. So, like, they're not just regular criminals. So, he puts on the suit and costume on, and when he puts on the visor, all he sees is red. So, that's a big point in the comic, is that he only sees red. And what happens is a security guard or cop catches them and starts chasing after him and the other two guys. The other two guys die, you know, getting shot down, and of course Batman comes along and tries to, you know, help the Joker. But what happens is he gets scared, and what he sees, well, what he thinks he sees is water underneath the bridge. So what happens is he jumps down so he can escape, but what really happens is he jumps into a pool of chemicals, and when he comes out, his skin is bleached white and his hair turns green. And what happens is, while all this happens, he goes back to his apartment where he's staying at, and he finds out there was a fire, and that his wife and child has died in the fire. So what happens is, after this has happened, this day wasn't so great. Almost got killed. He got his skin bleached white and green. His wife's dead. He's still down in the dumps. He can't make money. Nothing is going good for him. And what happens is he snaps. He goes crazy, and that's how he turns into the Joker. And throughout this whole, you know, backstory, he actually has a plan to capture Commissioner Gordon and, you know, take him away. And basically what happens is, after he, you know, shoots Barbara Gordon, he strips her down naked, takes new pictures of her. And later on at the amusement park, he strips Commissioner Gordon down naked and tortures him, beats him up, and finally puts him on this ride and forces him to watch or, you know, see all these new pictures of Barbara Gordon bleeding out. And he's like actually forced into it. He can't turn his head away. He can't close his eyes. Nothing. So that's the sucky part. And then of course Batman comes along and saves Commissioner Gordon, and of course, you know, captures the Joker. Now in all this, I have to say this is a great backstory for the Joker. But there's one thing I actually want to talk about here. So the Joker actually made this plan because he had like a motive into this. He had like a point to make. So his point, let me try to find the page for you guys. I want to read it out loud to you guys so you guys know. So what happens is he says, you see, it doesn't matter if you catch me and send me back to the asylum. Gordon's been driven mad. I've proved my point. But I've demonstrated there's no difference between me and everyone else. All it takes is one bad day to reduce the sanest man alive to lunacy. That's how far the world is from where I am. Just one bad day. You had a bad day once, right? I know I can tell you had a bad day and everything changed. Why else would you dress up like a flying bat or flying rat? So what Joker, like, I'm not going to keep reading, but what I'm going to tell you is what the Joker was saying is that it just took one bad day to turn the sanest man into a crazy lunatic like he is. And of course, that's the same thing that applies to Batman. Like I said, Batman's not all there in the head. He's a bit nuts and a bit crazy. He is an extremist to, like, I don't know, he would go really far to do things. Like, you'll see a lot of examples when you read, like, Batman comics, but yeah, Batman did have a bad day that turned him into a crazy little lunatic who dressed up like a bat. I mean, really, seriously, that's kind of... I'm not trying to bring Batman down, but that's kind of true. His parents died, and that drove him a little bit crazy and turned into Batman. I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing, but still, that's something the Joker was proving. And he was trying to prove to Batman that Commissioner Gordon can go crazy. But in the end, of course, Commissioner Gordon took, even as dramatic as this, you know, all this happened, he didn't take it too badly, and everything was okay. But yeah, I have to say, if you guys have never ever read Batman the Killing Joke, you guys have to read it. You have to check this backstory out for the Joker. It's awesome. It's amazing. A great read. I heard that, I forgot, Tim Burton, before he made the 1989 Batman movie, he actually used like part of this story for the reason of for the Batman movie. Basically, like I said, he jumped into a pool of chemicals. Same thing happened in the movie. The Joker in that movie fell into a pool of chemicals and turned into the Joker, and that's what happens. So yeah, check out the Batman the Killing Joke if you guys can. It's a really, really good comic, and yeah, that's my review on it. So like I said, guys, part 2 will be coming up soon, so I'm glad I'm done with part 1. Hope you like this video. Hope you like this review, so talk to you guys later.